Hello everyone, I hope you're doing really well. It's the 23rd of December 2025. I'm Gary Waterman, a former UK Police Constable. Thank you to everybody that joined Vanessa, Emery and I on my live stream yesterday on YouTube. Really appreciate it. I thought what I would do is read my statement out regarding my arrest and my time in prison and show you how it assisted in actually exposing the criminal system in place. Now, this statement has been sent to relevant organisations, including the prosecution team at Inverness. It's also been sent to Keir Starmer, various organisations within the police, and many other MPs as well, including the Home Secretary and the Minister for Police and Crime, I believe, is their title, or something similar. Now, this is it's quite a long statement, so it's going to be a series of videos of me reading this. So this is going to be part one. And I make this statement knowing that everything is true to the best of my knowledge, and understand that if any of the information I am providing is knowingly false and may be subject to prosecution. I now suspect my name was registered as Gary Lee Waterman with what is appearing to be a fraudulent birth certificate process. I am a living, breathing and loving man, and I do not consent to being governed or controlled by any fraudulent corporation system. I demand that all allegations against me under this criminal system are discontinued, and that I am awarded suitable compensation for the crimes committed against me as a result. If the employees of the prosecution for the Crown that also appears to be implemented fraudulently do continue with this process, and there be threats of unlawful incarceration or punishment if I do not comply, then I will continue in my defence, providing suitable measures are put in place to protect me and my evidence, but it will be under duress, as it is unlikely that the Crown will allow me to expose their whole system through their own processes. This may appear to be a simple case of non-compliance in relation to the Road Traffic Act and other legislative action against me regarding travelling in a conveyance, but due to the previous evidence that has been acquired that is very relevant to this case, it is much, much more. This document is a more concise and simplistic version of the statement for a much wider issue, and has been specifically created for this case against me and for public disclosure, in the hope that it will protect me and therefore the wider evidence that I am trying to expose. However, I produce a copy of the main evidential research document showing much of the wider verifiable information in evidence as item Exhibit GW1, which is circulating in the public domain, and that is an evolving working document. Please note that, as mentioned later, my device has been constantly infiltrated, and this appears to include the spell and grammar check facility being removed from my document creator, so please forgive any mistakes. At least you know I am real, and this document has not been produced by artificial intelligence. I am a former police constable of the United Kingdom, having served in Kent from 2000 to 2006 and Dorset from 2006 until 2018, when I voluntarily resigned, and I not realising at the time that the resignation would actually relate to this criminal case against me. I am also a former director for a company called Exbor Manor Freehold Limited that relates to real estate in Bournemouth, Dorset in England, which becomes relevant to the case. Since 2022, and whilst being a director for this company, I have managed to acquire irrefutable, verifiable and corroborative evidence of decades-long government fraud involving the forgery of the Companies House registration system and its incorporation documents, which is in contravention of the government's own criminal laws and acts. And it is clearly a completely inverted, centralised criminal system that has been created. Research shows that Companies House began in 1844, and this forgery, along with the non-verification of company registrations and the duplication of records, means it has deliberately and knowingly facilitated the ability to launder money through tax and other financial institutions in relation to crimes against humanity, including international conflicts, terrorism, drug trafficking, people trafficking, and the abuse, torture, and murder of children. This forgery and non-verification knowingly also facilitates the ability for the theft and movement of money in relation to vehicle insurance companies and the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Agency, or DVLA, which would also facilitate the theft of personal details deliberately. I've just added the word deliberately there. There is significant information that cannot be ignored, showing that this system of international government fraud also appears to relate to a plan against all of creation in relation to collider technology, such as the Large Hadron Collider at Geneva in Switzerland and the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider at New York in the US of A, and potentially also missing nuclear weapons, as explained later and shown in more detail in the main evidential research document exhibit item GW1. On the 8th of July 2022, I had approached Anthony Roberts, the acting chairman for Expoor Manor Freehold Limited, wanting to view the bank documents, bank accounts for the company after there had been a large, expensive roofing project at Expoor Manor. He became angry at me and resigned on the 13th of July 2022, prompting further inquiries after I effectively became the acting chairman. In March 2022, Deborah Fleming apparently retired as the NHS Chief Executive Officer for Hampshire, Isle of Wight and Dorset and suddenly became involved in Expoor Manor and my inquiries. My inquiries through Expoor Manor led to me acquiring what I believe are forged bank documents produced by someone in the Treasury Department of Lloyds Bank. After several months of inquiries, meetings and reports to the authorities, Deborah Fleming initiated my removal as a director from Expoor Manor Freehold Limited, and I was removed as a director on the 1st of July 2023. Deborah Fleming became a director and Anthony Roberts was reinstated, and the forged documents appeared to have been used to file the accounts soon afterwards. As a result of what I was uncovering and being a director, I had refused, against the wishes of many people in the company, to use these documents to file the company's accounts until a suitable independent investigation had been concluded by the relevant organisations. I knew that I'd be committing a serious crime if I did so, and I realised it needed to be exposed when the possible implications on humanity became apparent with what I was identifying, and the fact that everyone was ignoring the obvious evidence. I had made my initial report to Action Fraud in December 2022 before escalating the matter to Dorset Police due to the increasing concerns. As a result of my earlier reports to Dorset Police, they confirmed that fraud had been identified, but later refused to suitably acknowledge this and provided 2 emails that inadvertently confirmed that they were allowing banks the ability to produce forged bank documents. It was at this time that I realised the police were involved and escalated matters to the Serious Fraud Office, the Independent Office for Police Conduct and the Home Office, who insisted that the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners deal with the matter, despite me having found quick connections to Expoor Manor Freehold Limited through the Companies House records to them, and more recently to them and to Jimmy Savile, the royal family, Donald Trump, and to CERN, which is a company regarding the collider technology that had been founded in 1954, the year after the Queen's coronation. On the 13th of November 2025, articles had emerged that the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners were being scrapped. This is no coincidence. So this previous reaction by the Home Office and the other authorities was what led me to investigate further and identify the real forgery and how the main company in the fraud related to Expoor Manor Freehold Limited. Companies House shows that Expoor Manor Freehold Limited was incorporated in August 2007, and that its incorporation document shows the companies called Swift Incorporations Limited and Jordan's Limited. A separate search of Jordan's Limited shows that it was incorporated in 1965, and the register's overview shows that it only had the name of Jordan and Sons Limited from 1965 until 1996, and no other name. The government control the Companies House register, so would have input this information into the register and attached the incorporation document to that record shown in the filing history. The filing history has the incorporation document attached as a PDF, and it is dated the 11th of November 1965, leaving a slight delay for its registration. Only the document was filled once the document was filled out. The document shows that its incorporation name was actually Hammerplag Limited, not Jordan and Sons Limited, as claimed on the register. And this means that the register has been forged and a false name of Jordan and Sons Limited added. A link regarding this company is shown below, but I've taken screenshots of the evidence and pasted them into a document that I produce in evidence as item GW2. This cannot be an administration error, as the task was simply to transfer the details from the document to the register, but the register has been falsified, and it has now been identified that this is the case with many companies that have all been created as a centralised criminal system against most of humanity. The mens rea and actus rea required for a crime are complete. Section 1 of the Theft Act 1968 states a person is guilty of theft if he, or they, it would be they, dishonestly appropriates property belonging to another with the intention of permanently depriving the other of it, and thief and steal should be construed accordingly. It is immaterial whether the appropriation is actually made with a view to gain or is made for the thief's own benefit. The dishonesty is I believe, the forgery behind the corporations, and the property will relate to money or any assets acquired through those criminal companies. Here is a link to the full Theft Act 1968 website on the government's website, and here is a link to the full 2006 Fraud Act legislation. Notice that Section 10 of the Act, participating in fraudulent business carried on by the company, was repealed on the 1st of October 2009. So this is Section 10 of the Fraud Act 2006. This was 2 days after the incorporation of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that connects almost all areas of the fraud and is mentioned throughout this statement and the main evidential research document, Exhibit GW1. This suggests the section had been deliberately repealed to expedite the agenda and try to remove any risk of accountability and liability for the corporations and their criminal network moving forward. Just added moving forward there. There will also be multiple conspiring offences, not just in relation to theft, but crimes against the person and humanity itself. As the exposure continued, Vistra, later identified as appearing to be to be used to funnel billions of pounds into a company called EQT AB, and the research of this connecting to EQT Partners that links quickly to Ghislaine Maxwell on the company's house records. So as the exposure was continued, that was identified. And I haven't put this here, but Vistra is Jordan's and Sons Limited and Jordan's. It's the same company, it's just where they changed names. So that means it relates directly to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited. Other research showed that in July 2025, the world's main currency producer, De La Rue, had been purchased by a company called Atlas Holdings, and Atlas Holdings Limited had dissolved in January 2022. As I started to ask questions at Exmoor Manor, Atlas Holdings Limited had also linked to information regarding possible missing nuclear weapons from the 1980s, which was reported to Police Scotland by me towards the end of 2024, as mentioned later. The research suggests that this was the first time De La Rue had been removed from the London Stock Exchange since 1947, the same year that the Doomsday Clock began, and in 1948 the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners of the United Kingdom, the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom began, the same year that the related Israel-Arab War also began. This appears to be an indication that those behind the system were panicking and that huge moves may be being made against humanity as the fraud became exposed. Links to this information are shown below, but I took screenshots and I pasted them into a document as another exhibit. I've submitted 30 to 40 reference police reports across the United Kingdom, and almost all have had no response. Certainly none have had a response since May 2023, I believe it was. With the last response I've mentioned here, with the last response being on the 11th of May 2024, when I received a call from one of my previous colleagues, and I've forgotten his name now, gone out of my head, Jay Griffin of Dorset Police, simply asking that I stop mentioning Deborah Fleming in my exposure. Griffin ignored all of the verifiable evidence. Most of these reports are explained in the main evidential research document, item GW1. I'd also been emailing around 650 members of Parliament, and although I initially received some responses, this appears to stop around the time I started to mention the connection to the possible threat of directed energy, which included cell towers and later was connected to CERN and the Collider technology. As my suspicions had grown, due to the escalating evidence and the suspicious responses and inactions by the relevant organisations, I thought that my wife Lisa Waterman and I may be at risk. I found it strange that Lisa did not seem overly worried at the time. As a result of my inquiries, we had left Exmoor Manor in 2023 and started travelling in a van that I had already purchased so that I could continue my inquiries and exposure. In September 2023, the Bournemouth Echo media company publicised that Dorset Police had started investigating a company called Initiative Property Management Limited and alleged that potentially millions of pounds had gone missing in relation to it. I identified that the company was connected quickly to Exbourne Manor and key areas of the fraud and associated subjects. And there's a link that I put in my statement to the articles. Around 5 weeks later, a further publication showed that Dorset Police had not conducted a search of Initiative Property Management Limited until a month after the initial publication of its investigation, meaning it would have given the ability to alter, conceal, or destroy evidence in relation to the wider evidence being acquired. As the exposure continued in March 2025, articles emerged that no further action was being taken in relation to this investigation. Having been in the police, I was of course aware that a search should be conducted as soon as possible in relation to any investigation, and certainly not a month after a publicised investigation. For whatever reason, my research into Companies House now shows that all three of my families are closely connected to Exbourne Manor and high-profile world figures, despite there being over 5 million registered companies. I haven't put this in there, but this includes Julian Assange and a doomsday cult, David Icke, who said the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis, Donald Trump, Jimmy Savile, and many more who are key individuals in all of this. At some time in 2024, I purchased a Fiat Ducato motorhome, registration Yankee Juliet 52 Sierra Papa Golf, in Edinburgh in Scotland for £16,000, and used this to travel to try and stay safe as I continued my inquiries and public exposure, due to a refusal for an independent investigation by the organisations that should be investigating it. At this time, I haven't put this, but at this time Lisa was still with me. On the 24th of March 2024, after I had acquired further evidence, I submitted reference reports to most UK police forces, including an online contact report to Police Scotland, but received no response. Police Scotland does not supply a reference number regarding these online reports, but most other police forces do, and these are included in the main evidential research document item exhibit GW1. On the 12th of November 2024, Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, resigned, and he had already been identified as being significantly connected to the fraud and the apparent agenda against humanity. The research of the Archbishop of Canterbury becomes relevant to information that I acquired around the same time regarding a prophecy of St. Columbus, where he had claimed that the world would end at Iona. This is St. Columbus, on the west coast of Scotland, and how this may relate to articles of monks moving back to Iona in 2024. And I haven't mentioned this, I have actually mentioned it. Importantly, a company called the Monks Investment Trust Public Limited Company is shown on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that connects almost all areas of the fraud. This now appears to be significantly relevant to my court case as explained later. Monks Investment Public Limited Company was actually incorporated in 1929, and its register has been forged. The filing history shows that since early 2022, as I started to make early inquiries at Exbourne Manor, huge sums of money are being moved from the company, and research from the company connects quickly to the Flemings, as shown in the main evidential research document. On the 26th of November 2024, as the evidence escalated, I called Police Scotland on 999 from my mobile number. This call contained verifiable information regarding the fraud and how it pertained to information on possibly missing nuclear weapons and the evidence that I am now acquiring. As a result, I received a call from someone claiming to be from Police Scotland shortly afterwards, where they only appeared concerned about my whereabouts, which I could not disclose due to the connections being made to the police and the fraud. I received no further response. On the 20th of December 2024, I submitted a further online contact report to Police Scotland, and I took screenshots as I completed the report and pasted them into a document which I produce in evidence as GW4. I've had no response to that report to Police Scotland. Due to the continued exposure and certain events that happened, my wife and I separated in 2025, leading me to research and acquire the information regarding my families and their significant connection to the fraud. And one of the reasons that we separated, I'm sorry, Lisa, but I have to say this because it's very relevant, is we were discussing the Bible, and my wife basically stated that we must continue paying taxes even if we have evidence showing that that money is being used for the torture and abuse of children. And she said, if the Bible says we have to pay the taxes, then we have to continue paying them despite that. Well, that was it. The relationship was to be no more after that. On the 31st of January 2025, I received a WhatsApp message from Lisa's number stating that she had registered the Fiat Ducato motorhome in my name. I noticed the messages were not in the format she would normally have written them, and I suspected someone else had written them. Several requests for a voice note message confirming it was Lisa were completely ignored. I started to research the driver and vehicle licensing agency the same day. The research shows that a new specific site for the driver and vehicle licensing centre, as it was called at the time, had been built in Swansea in 1969. This is the same year that Charles became the Prince of Wales, and it was where Companies House was based. And they are the ones that are creating the criminal companies, and it's controlled by our government. According to the research, an important year of 1990, the licensing centre was renamed as the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency as part of the apparent agenda against humanity. It became an executive agency for the Department of Transport. Now, 1990 is important. It's the year after the World Wide Web was created for CERN. And CERN, as I keep saying, is massively part of everything that's going on. In 1990, you had the Gulf War started, which is again very relevant to this. And then 1991, you had David Icke came out and said the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. And then in also the relativistic heavy ion collider was starting to be built in 1991, despite scientists saying they were concerned it would create a black hole on Earth. And this leads into 1992, which is when the Catholic Church, I keep saying the Vatican, but it obviously does relate to the Vatican. The Catholic Church became a legal entity in 1992, which is the same year that the Companies House registration system started to become electronic. So this enabled them to funnel the money through into the agenda, leading up through to the World Trade Center disaster, which is all part of this. The situation involving the vaccines and everything else, it's all to do with this, everybody. Hewlett-Packard had purchased Electronic Data Systems, or EDS, in 2008, and information shows that EDS had been used to create the register for the DVLA, Driver Vehicle Licensing AG, from 1999, 2 years before the related World Trade Center disaster. This is the same year that the Church of Satan was re-established after the death of its original founder in 1997, which was within 2 months of Princess Diana's death, which is all to do with this. This allowed the ability to track vehicles and funnel any related financial elements into their agenda. According to the information, Electronic Data Systems had been founded in 1962 by Henry Ross Perot, a former graduate of the Navy Academy, a politician and former salesman for IBM. That the research suggests is heavily implicated in the fraud and the apparent crimes against children, as well as having been connected to the Iona prophecy. Now, 1962 is an important year because it appears that is when the infiltration of the real British royal family may have occurred. And hopefully, if you saw the live yesterday with what Vanessa is saying, it all appears to be true at the moment. And Siemens, the main company that's linked to the Nazi regime and is a massive part of this and linking in with CERN, was also created in 1962, the main company. Perot, this person, has also worked at Steve Jobs' company, Apple, that makes important connections to the fraud in the apparent agenda regarding the collider technology as shown in the main evidential research document. A Companies House shows that Electronic Data Systems had been incorporated in 1985 before its name changed in 1992. This is Electronic Data Systems Limited, the same year that the Companies House register started to become electronic and key events appeared to take place. Companies House has hidden the information on when the company was closed. The directors are also not shown, and its filing history is limited, which all suggests they are concerned about how it will relate to the evidence of the fraud. Someone claiming to be from the DVLA fraud team eventually confirmed that they had been using electronic data systems but refused to state which company it now uses, as mentioned later. A separate Companies House search shows the EDS in brackets Electronic Data Systems Limited of Amen Corner. Literally, Amen Corner. Bearing in mind we're talking about falsified prophecies here. Was incorporated in 1984 and dissolved in 2012, the same year that CERN claims to have discovered the Higgs boson or God particle. It appears to have a forged incorporation document. Steve Burr connects this company to Hewlett-Packard companies. John Alfred Bateman connects EDS, this company, to EDS Secretarial Services Limited, that was incorporated in 1987 and is a criminal company with Nigel Leonard Blood of the London Law Agency at 84 Temple Chambers, Temple Avenue, are on its incorporation document. This name, Nigel Leonard Blood, links immediately to Stephen Hawking, immediately to Elon Musk. Stephen Hawking held a meeting with Jeffrey Epstein in April 2012, less than 3 months before CERN supposedly discovered the Higgs boson or God particle. And that was with CERN scientists, and it was on an American Virgin Island, according to the research. This address, 84 Temple Chambers, is massively relevant. It features right throughout the document. Key connections to my family, to the information from Vanessa, to Tommy Robinson, and to many other key parts of the evidence. These exact details, as I've said, make it. I've just put what I've just told you. Mark Jonathan Curtis connects this company, EDS Electronic Data Systems Limited, to Oracle Global Services, with Oracle companies featuring in the fraud surrounding Donald Trump's Stargate project, which was announced in early 2025, the day after he became the 47th president, as shown in the main evidential research document. Mark Luthwaite connects this company, EDS1, to the Royal Navy and Royal Marines charity that is registered in Hampshire, where Deborah Fleming was the NHS Chief Executive Officer, and is connected to Ian Fleming, who was also in the Navy, as was Perot. Perot, remember, was involved in creating the electronic data systems. There are many other criminal weapons companies connected from this company on Companies House, facilitating the laundering of money stolen from the masses through potentially false government defence contracts. Alan Charles Stevens connects the same company, the EDS company, to Lockheed Martin at UK Amped Hill Group Limited, with Lockheed Martin being connected to the Agenda and Lockheed Martin UK Limited being a criminal company, have been incorporated with the same two companies as Exborn Manor Freehold Limited, as shown in the Made Evidential Research document. Now, I haven't put it here, but those documents those companies have now been linked to Peter Gilmore, who was positioned as the new high priest of the Church of Satan in 2001, the same year as the World Trade Center disaster. And those exact same companies that connect to that name also linked to Dodi Al-Fayed, who Princess Diana was having a relationship with from July 1997, around a month or 2 months before she supposedly died. Stevens also connects to the Institute for the Management of Information, that was incorporated in 1974, 3 years after the World Economic Forum. This is the year after the World Trade Center building was actually completed in its construction, and its construction began in 1966, which is the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan. And this company has a forged register. I could go on, there's so much more evidence from that. I also started to investigate car insurance companies and identified that every one research appeared to be centralized to the criminal network, giving them the ability to steal money from the masses into their agenda. Having searched what the main car insurance companies were, I started with Admiral, and Admiral Group PLC was incorporated in 1999. And connects immediately to the fraud by Stanley Davis Group Limited on its incorporation document. Evelyn Brigid Bork connects this company to Marks and Spencer's Group PLC. It was incorporated on the 23rd of July 2001. This is the day before Larry Silverstein acquired the lease for the World Trade Center building, the only time that it ever changed hands in its entire history. Its name was changed again in August 2001 and again in January 2002 after the World Trade Center disaster. According to the overview, its name has not been changed since. Criminal company Slaughter and May is on the incorporation document. And Slaughter and May was actually originally founded in 1954, the same year as CERN, which is all relevant in this, okay? The year after the Queen was coronated. The World Trade Center disaster is hugely relevant as shown in the main evidential research document. So we're going to leave it there for now because that's half an hour. Please come back for the next part and I'll continue reading my statement. Thank you very much.